p.m. as we can. It's so good to see some familiar faces. I know we've been meeting with the 10th graders over the last month, so nice to see you in the audience. My name is Megan Mitrovich. I am the lead college counselor at BASIS Scottsdale, and I'm also the lead college counselor for the BASIS Schools Network. I've been with BASIS now for about 3 years. I'm originally from Michigan, so I did my own bachelor's degree at the University of Michigan, go blue. And then from there, I did a master's in higher education at Harvard before landing in college admissions and advising at Harvard College and the University of Minnesota, which then brought me to BASIS. So I'm going to pass things off to my wonderful colleague, Michelle, so that she can introduce herself.
Hello, it's nice to see so many familiar faces. My name is Michelle Potter. Quick background about me. I got my bachelor's in psychology at the University of Arizona, and from there I went to ASU to receive my master's in counseling, which I had the opportunity to teach ASU freshmen as they determined a major in career exploration, which fit in really well with this BASIS position that I started almost 2 years ago. I really loved the experience so far. I really love meeting with the students, talking about where their interests are, discussing majors, and then applying in the application time to colleges. So it's wonderful to be here tonight, and then of course always working with my colleague Megan.
Likewise, we were so excited when Michelle joined our team. So tonight we'll be focusing on college planning at BASIS Scottsdale. I don't see any pieces from last night. If you were here last night with a 9th grader, you're going to see the same slideshow but some new content. If you don't have some of the informational materials, they are on this rack over here. We essentially have our college counseling workbook that we put together. You might recognize it from this fall at the Back to School Bash, but we now have some college planning checklists grade by grade at the front of that workbook. And then we also have the college counseling questionnaire that we ask students to update electronically in Naviance, but sometimes it's nice for them to have that hard copy if they want to thoughtfully reflect on the questions that we ask, and they can continue to update that at any time. So, tonight's agenda, we'll be talking about college admissions criteria and what students can be doing now to empower themselves, to equip themselves for that 12th grade year. A common misconception is that the college application and admissions process is confined to that 12th grade year, when in fact students are compiling all of the different materials, their transcripts, their extracurricular activities, building strong relationships with their teachers. Those are the things that they are then going to put forward to the colleges as a senior. So actually the college applications are currently a work in progress. So hopefully that is good news, because it means that you are looking toward the future and you can take action now. So we'll be talking about standardized testing, extracurriculars and letters of rec like I mentioned. We'll be doing a brief overview of the different types of schools out there, but what we really want students to be focusing on now is that active exploration of their interests, discovering what they're passionate about, equally important, what they're not passionate about, so that we can help them identify the different factors that might help them when they are deciding which types of schools they want to apply to. And then we'll finish up with some exciting news. The students, or seniors I should say, heard back from different colleges and universities across the country, actually around the world, over the past couple of weeks. So we'll be sharing some of our admissions outcomes with you. And then we'll also be bringing in some current seniors for a panel so that they can take some of your questions now that they're on the other side of the process themselves. So, in your college counseling workbook, there is a handout that you've maybe seen a few times by now. It's something that we put together to familiarize you with some of the primary factors that the colleges consider when they are reviewing or evaluating an applicant. So these aren't ordered or weighted in any particular way. Different colleges have different application and admissions processes, but these are the primary things that the colleges look to when they are evaluating an applicant. So the first is the academic record. So academic rigor and grades do matter in this process, but something we've been discussing with the 10th graders as we meet with them is that it should be rigor that they can manage to be successful in. So good news, by virtue of being a BASIS student and our curriculum, no college is ever going to say, but why didn't that Basis Scottsdale student challenge themselves? Our curriculum, as you well know, is inherently challenging. So it's up to the students, in addition to taking those required classes, to wisely choose their electives and to wisely choose them not based on how hard they are perceived to be, but how they fit with their academic interests. We also want students to consider things like, am I a morning or afternoon person? Does it make sense to take an AM or PM elective? With the current course load that I have, am I also able to take on extracurricular activities and be a contributing member of the community? So taking those considerations into hand. So the transcript is an important piece, but it is something that we want to provide context to. So again, this is the college's first impression of a student. We're going to be looking at an example transcript in a minute, but I do want you to know that the colleges typically look at grades 9 through 12 and average the grades earned, or look at the grades earned during those grades. There are some schools, University of California System is an example, Emory University in Atlanta, that actually don't look at 9th grade grades. They don't factor them into students' GPA. So different schools have different approaches to evaluating an applicant. But they are looking to see that the student has challenged themselves and been successful within their academic and personal interests. So that means that if a student is really interested in, let's say, politics, it would make a lot of sense for that student to take a class like Intro to Law and really explore and cultivate that interest. And it'll be valuable for them to see if they like that or not. The colleges want students to be well-rounded and successful across the board, but if a student intends to pursue the humanities more than anything in college, and in a required AP Physics 1 class didn't earn an A, that's the type of thing that can be overlooked. So we don't want students to think that there's no context when evaluating that transcript. There's an unweighted and a weighted GPA that students will be given based on the grades they earned in grades 9 through 12. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The unweighted is out of 4 points, the weighted is out of 5. And an extra point is added to all classes that are pre-calculus, math, and higher, honors, AP, capstone, and post-AP courses. So essentially everything but non-AP electives and the first 2 years of foreign language. So no student has a 5.0, it's actually impossible, but that should also be something that demonstrates to you just how rigorous our curriculum is if the majority, almost all of our courses are actually weighted because they are that difficult. Next, really important to have an upward trajectory or to be consistent over the course of time. So colleges are looking to see the narrative that a student writes via their transcript. So, establishing themselves in that 9th grade year, taking classes in their interests year by year, it can be a really powerful story for a student to improve year by year if there is room to improve or in a difficult subject. That can be painted as hard work, determination, going to student hours, things that can also be illustrated in that student's letters of recommendation. If a student starts out strong and still ends with a high GPA, but there's a definite decline year by year, that's the type of thing that would be concerning, because as the student gets closer and closer to the college years, the colleges want to see the type of work ethic and attitude that that student is going to bring, and any improvement or progress is viewed really positively. So this is an example transcript. As I mentioned, year by year you can see the courses that the student has taken. You'll notice that 7th and 8th grade for this particular student appear on the transcript. For some students, it's only 8th grade. For some students, it might go as far back as 6th grade. And these are the classes that actually satisfy high school graduation requirements. So often we'll see math, algebra and beyond, we'll see economics, and we'll see world history. And that is to serve as proof that the student has satisfied high school graduation requirements in the state of Arizona. So we want to bring that to your attention because those grades do not impact the student's GPA. They're not reviewed as part of the college admissions process. We've discussed this with our college reps, but they do sit there as proof to show that the student did in fact satisfy these requirements. You can see the current coursework here, the grading scale, the unweighted GPA and the weighted GPA. Another thing I want to point out is that there's a signature line, and if the transcript is not signed, it is not official. And if you're applying to summer programs, internships, it's really important for students to make sure that they send the correct version of a transcript. If it's official, that's fine. But if it needs to be official and they haven't emailed us or stopped by our office to get a signed copy, they might not receive full consideration for a program. So it's just an easy signature, so students make sure if you're applying for something that you don't overlook that step. We wouldn't want that to hurt you. So you'll notice that. Another thing you'll notice is these asterisks. And those asterisks, if we look at this legend, indicate that the student sat for the accompanying AP exam for an AP course. The class is weighted regardless if it's an AP course, but it does demonstrate whether or not the student sat for an AP exam. So students, I know you're probably familiar with that AP curve. You'll also notice that it's only the full year grade that appears on the transcript. So we do send home trimester report cards, but no one outside of BASIS Scottsdale ever sees those. And they don't, those trimester grades don't count towards your GPA as that full year grade. And if it's an AP course, it's after that AP curve is applied to the final grade. And another thing I want to mention about that, for students, if you're not planning to take an AP exam for a class, you'll instead, I know you just came off MOS, you'll instead take an alternate exam based on prior year's AP exams that will constitute 40% of your final grade. So that's how that would work. Students, in order to graduate from a BASIS school, and this is BASIS-wide, need to take an AP exam in each of the core academic subjects. So math, science, humanities, and social sciences. But that would be one overall. Obviously, the majority of students take more, but one in each. And then the final thing I want to mention about the transcript is that every student, in order to graduate from a BASIS school, needs 1 credit of fine arts. That could be debate, that could be band, that could be piano, that could be drama. So a lot of different options there, but they do need that 1 fine arts credit. It can be earned in grade 9, 10, 11, or 12. But that's actually, in addition to the importance of creative expression, a safeguard, because there are a lot of colleges that require students to have 1 fine arts credit in order to even apply. So that's a way to ensure that students are eligible, that they are admissible. And then if students don't want to take that fine arts credit here at school, there is a form in your college counseling workbook. It's also available on Naviance that students can complete. Over the course of 1 calendar year, August to August, they would need 120 hours of practice, instruction, performance in a fine art. So if a student is in dance, or if they're taking piano lessons, if they take art lessons, they might easily be able to acquire those hours to satisfy the fine arts requirements. And if they choose to do that, we will add 1 fine arts credit to their transcript. It'll literally read fine arts. It'll be 1 credit, and it'll be pass-fail. So it won't impact their GPA. There won't be a letter attached to it. So that is an option. This is our AP conversion table, also available in the Parent-Student Handbook and online or in Naviance. So if you are looking towards those May exams and wondering how they might impact your final grade, this will give you an idea. We always tell students, to put forth their best effort over the entire course of the academic year. You never know if you'll have a bad day. Don't bank on that exam. However, the AP curve does benefit 94% of students. So in the vast majority of cases, you're seeing that our students have mastered the material to a level where their grade is being maintained or improved. So that's our GPA course section of this presentation. Any questions thus far? I know you guys have probably heard this message more than once, but if there is something new or something that's not clear, please ask.
Yes, so if your AP exam is 2, it hurts your GPA.
If your score is a 2,
yeah.
Correct. Yeah. All right. Other questions? No. Okay. So we're going to talk about standardized testing. I know, it's excitement. So you can reference the standardized testing handout in the college counseling workbook. But there are a few different tests we're going to be talking about this evening. The PSAT, next year is going to be the year that it counts for national merit purposes, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And the SAT-1, which is a standardized test that we encourage students to take when they take that PSAT, so around the same time. SAT-2s, so subject tests, and the ACT. So here's an overview. The PSAT, in 9th and 10th grade, all BASIS students take the PSAT. And it's undergone some changes in the past year, so now we have a version that we're hoping will be the one used for future years so that students can become familiar with it, but next year, no change. So out of 15, 20, that would be the maximum number of points. Evidence-based reading and math and writing as well. So those would be the sections that the students are taking. With the PSAT, 9th and 10th grade, again, we just wanted students to practice. We just wanted a baseline. We just wanted to see how you did. By virtue of the curriculum and a year of life experience, we often see a significant increase in score just between 9th and 10th grade. But no one sees PSAT scores. So those are just internal for students' own reference. But in 11th grade, there's something called National Merit Scholarship Consideration. And that is when students' PSAT scores can count for award scholarship recognition purposes. So as you guys look towards that 11th grade PSAT in October, we do want you to take a break over the summer, but also begin with your preparation. And one thing we're encouraging students to do is to link their College Board PSAT report from 10th grade with Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a free online tutorial website, and if you sync Khan Academy with College Board, they will create customized 15-minute per day lessons for students that are tailored to their strengths and weaknesses. And they will also provide 7 full-length PSAT tests, example tests for students to take to get acquainted with the test itself. So they're not only preparing for the content, but the confines and constraints of test day. So what is it like when you have to pace yourself, when you can't flip to the answer key, when you are choosing, which circle to bubble in because there is no guessing penalty. So we encourage students to check out Khan Academy and start preparing. And by preparing for the PSAT, they're actually able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because we also then want them to take the SAT for the first time in either October or November. That's when we suggest they would sign up through the College Board website. But if they take it in October, it is traditionally the same week as the PSAT. So if you just want to knock it out, take both tests in 1 week, you have the weekday PSAT and then the weekend SAT, that's an option. Or you can have a couple of weeks in between and then take the SAT in November. But we don't want you to have to sustain the energy to continue to prepare for the SAT when you've already prepared for the PSAT. So we would suggest doing that. That also allows time for students to retake the test later on and for us to meet up with them and talk about their options. So that's what we would suggest for standardized testing, that they take the